Okay, we're back with the Transformers G1 characters tier list. Going to season two now. I did do a quick check on this guy because I was like, I don't remember who that is. Well, the reason I don't, I'm going to have him as forgettable. His name's Hauler, and Hauler was apparently used in Cybertron. So he's kind of like I was thinking these Seekers are, or whoever they are. I didn't look them up, but just a generic hoist looking guy or yeah, grapple looking guy. So those two should be coming up in this season. Yeah, there's grapple, there's hoist. So okay, season two, some new characters. I had some more of the toys. These began to be the plastic ones, the cheaper made toys. At least some of them. This is when that transition started. I also see some here I don't know that I'm going to recognize, so I may have to come back and try to move the don't recognize up once I see them, if I recall. Especially these, because I remember that there were Beta, um, some other Cybertron girl robots in a few episodes that I'm not as familiar with, or I don't remember as specifically as maybe some of the others. There's Alita One, which I think might be that one, and then yeah, a couple more. So we'll figure that out. We start with Sea Spray. Why I have no idea. I did have Sea Spray. It was kind of a cool toy, but again, just a reminder for the new video: we are ranking based off of the cartoons. Um, I don't know. I think it was a timing thing with them making the movie, um, and when season two came out, that not almost very few of these characters are in the movie. Like a couple that I can see. The rest I don't recall being in there, so it was probably just that they didn't get a chance to use them. Um, some might have died off screen, whatever, or just stayed on the show, but I don't remember them too much. We also have more combiners this season, so we just had Devastator before. Now we're going to start to see them using that quite a bit. So when that happens, they get a little generic for me of which guy's which and why does it really matter. But they can form a bigger robot that sometimes is a little cooler. Okay, so Sea Spray, back to him. He becomes like a boat, some kind of boat. Whoever is a boat expert would tell me what kind of boat that is, but where he just has propellers on the back and think he's the first water dude we had. Uh, which makes sense because Cybertron doesn't have any water. So don't know what he was before, but at least that I'm aware of. So Sea Spray has like a funny voice where he sounds like he's talking underwater, which I get. You're trying to make sure everybody understands he's a water guy. Um, I wouldn't say he was dumb. I liked him. I liked his color scheme. I didn't mind when he was on the show. It was a little like corny, but it's like okay, it's fine. Uh, he's no Gears, for example, for me. He's better than that. Okay, this is Alita one. I'm pretty sure. These two I'm gonna put as don't recognize for now, but I felt like there were. Oh, there are. Okay, so I think these two are also uh, female robots, and then but I do remember Alita One. So I'll try to find those. I feel like it's like Moon Racer and something else. There was like two episodes. They're fine. Alita One, I will have as cool. I don't know that I remember too much more about her, but she was fine. She was like a super close companion with Optimus Prime. If you were going to say they had a love interest, probably that kind of character. But she's brave and good. All right, so we get now an Autobot Soundwave ish, where it is Blaster. Now, Blaster is the exact opposite of Soundwave from a personality standpoint. He is the fun, brash, just loud, let's all have fun kind of personality. He's fun in the movie. He's got his own cassette tapes as well that fight Soundwave's cassette tapes. They fight, he lives and they fight later on. There's like a series that I don't think came to the United States called Headmasters that I've seen snippets of, where he and Soundwave fight again, or they become kind of something else. I don't remember, but yeah. So Blaster was pretty cool. Again, he's a tape deck. I don't know that I have him as awesome as some of the others, but I'll put him in the barely not awesome for now. Oh man, some of these guys get a little. I might have to put them in the don't recognize for now and bring them up later if I can look them up. This is Smokescreen, I'm pretty sure. So Smokescreen is a race car. He is literally put smoke out behind him. I remember there were a couple of episodes. There was one where they were like racing across the country or something, and I remember him being in that more than others. I think this is him, and if I get it mixed up, I'll correct it later. But he looks that color. He's got the little horns, kind of like Prowl and Blue Streak do. Didn't have his toy or remember it or anything, but I thought he's kind of generic. I'll have him as cool. I don't remember too much about his personality. We had Trax. Trax had a little bit more of a personality, and Trax was cool because he was a car, but he could fly. He had wings that came out the side of the car. And it was always interesting in the show because Autobots really didn't fly and Decepticons could all fly. Like even if they weren't Starscream or Jet, they would just fly. Not sure that they ever explained that. Maybe they did later. But Trax was kind of the first car that I remember flying, and he would have to be transformed to fly. They did have Skyfire before, but Trax was the first one there. Personality wise, I thought he was fine. He did have a couple of his own episodes. I don't know that I'd put him above cool, but we'll see. We'll start him there. This is Hoist. So Hoist and Grapple I've gotten mixed up, but you see that they're always next to each other. That's probably why I kept getting them mixed up. They're both like construction robots. Hoist is more of a tow truck. Grapple is like a crane. He's kind of like Hook was for the Constructicons, and I feel like they might have been friends with the Constructicons at some point, or worked with them on Cybertron and didn't really have too much of a beef with each other. I might be making that up, but I feel like that was an episode. I'll have him as cool. I don't remember too much about his personality. It's not that he's totally forgettable because I really remember him, but there is a chance like he's kind of like Trailbreaker to me. I'll just put him down there just for that sake. So he's kind of like, oh yeah, Hoist is on the show. I have a guess here, but I don't think that's it. I'm going to put him in the don't recognize category for now. He's one of those characters where like if I do recognize him, it'll be in the likely the forgettable category, because he's just not like super memorable. I want to say it's Skids, but maybe I'm getting him mixed up with another guy. So we'll see. Yeah, I think it's Skids, but we'll see. Okay, Inferno. Inferno's a fire truck. Inferno looks like Grapple, who we've gotten a couple here. You see how their heads are set back, and that's probably the toy again. Like we had Inferno. I don't know that we had both. I think we might have actually, but similar types. That's why I thought he was Holler. He looks like Holler up there. Maybe a little bit boxier. But Inferno was pretty cool. He was tall. I remember him being tall. I remember him being kind of the brave firefighter dude. I'll just have him as cool for now. And then we have Red Alert. Red Alert was also a fire truck. Not a fire truck, fire car, like a support car. I remember Red Alert being more of a wuss, or like he kind of freaked out sometimes or didn't really step up when somebody needed him to step up for some reason. Likely one of those, lessons learned type of show or episodes, and he had to be the person to do it. But I kind of always forgot Red Alert was on the show. and he was fairly prominent in a few episodes, so that's just on me. We have, okay, talked about it a million times. There's Grapple. I'll have him in the forgettable category as well, kind of like Hoist. All right, Perceptor. Perceptor turns into a microscope. Awesome transformation, right? You turn into a microscope. You can see things that are small. No, but he's actually like a telescope too. You see that in the movie. They probably show it in the cartoon as well. I think they actually, I don't know if it was just on the toy or maybe the show where he has treads where he can drive a little bit. But he's a very nerdy type character, very over calculates everything, and you see that in his personality when they're like, dude, stop, calculating everything, stop trying to make everything so tactical. But he's a good dichotomy. I always liked Perceptor, just his personality being different, and he stood out for that. So I'll have him in the Barely Not Awesome. Okay, these next four are where I would have assumed Sea Spray would have been. In my mind, especially thinking about the toys, they're lumped together because they were smaller. They were smaller plastic toys. They were, I don't know that they were like microbots or something, but they were much smaller than the other ones. So you had Sea Spray, and then now you have Powerglide, who's a plane. You have Warpath, the tank, and Beachcomber, the Dune Buggy, and then Cosmos, which is like a UFO looking deal, flying saucer deal. So Powerglide was a pretty brave plane. He's going against Decepticon planes, which are stronger than him, but he's more of the like the Warthog type plane. Is that what that was called from the like World War II or maybe a little after? But I always thought he was pretty cool. I liked Powerglide. Similar with Warpath, he was. I'll have Warpath actually up in the Barely Not Awesome. I liked his attitude. He was a little bit more brash, go get him, a little like Cliffjumper maybe. I had his toy, so that might be playing a little bit of a factor, and even though I'm not trying to count that, that I thought was pretty fun. Had his gun on his chest, which is pretty cool looking, I thought. So liked him. Beachcomber is a pacifist, is the one thing I remember about him, like kind of a surf, beach bum personality dude. But I liked him. I liked his transformation. And he was cool looking for sure. So I'll have him in the cool category. And then Cosmos, very stout dude. He'd be out in space doing surveillance. I don't remember him being in the movie. I don't remember any of those guys being in the movie, so I don't think they made it. But I don't know if they survived or not after the fact either. And can't remember if they made it in season 3. But Cosmos is one I feel like he did. And maybe I'm wrong about that. But I'm going to have him as forgettable because I don't remember too much about his personality or anything. Okay, we have Alpha Trion here. Alpha Trion is the original Autobot leader. Now, I don't remember the circumstances by which he became leader, if it was just they'd formed and he decided to call them Autobots or what. I don't remember all the history there, but he was pretty cool as a sage type leader. He's got the beard, which he's not the only one in the Transformers world, but I always thought he was fine. I don't know that I'd have him above cool. We'll see. He never, that I recall, transformed. Maybe wasn't a full Transformer, but I don't remember if he did or not. Optimus Prime was Orion Pax when he met him, and then he passed on the Matrix, I think, to Orion Pax. Okay. I think this is Chip. Just popped into my head. This dude that I couldn't remember his name, I think it's Chip. So you had Chip, Sparkplug, and Spike. Don't know why. Could be wrong. This dude looks weird. I don't recognize this guy. Is he with Cosmos. I don't know. I'm gonna have him in the don't recognize for now because I don't. He very much could be like the whole Cybertron or a guy um, from another place or another planet or something that they ran into. Okay, now's where we get a little tricky. These are the I want to say aerial bots. They form Superion. I think it's aerial bots. They were on Cybertron. They were like rockets or old things, and then they found the Autobots had to get like personality chips, and they made them, like built them on Cybertron after they were already on Earth and all that. So let's see. We had Silverbolt was the leader, Air Raid, Fireflight, Skydive, and Slingshot. This is Slingshot. That's Superion. So yeah, I think I might have even had the order right there. So Silverbolt is the leader, and he's afraid of heights, of all things. He is a plane, like a Concorde jet or something, and afraid of heights. So there was all this about him not being able to go high enough or chase people or whatever. Um, he was fine. He was okay. He was cool. Like I liked his transformation. But yeah, that was a little lame. These two, maybe three, I don't know for a fact that I'm getting in the right order, but like I'm just gonna assume this is Air Raid. These guys were all cool, but I just don't differentiate them. Slingshot. So we'll rank them. I'll put them in order that I like them. I might validate that I've got the right names if I can find a picture of them. Again, I didn't build this tier list, so I don't know the picture used. And then we have Superion, which was their combiner. I will have him in Barely Not Awesome. So I like combiners. I think they're pretty cool. They do have distinct personalities. And I do remember Superion a lot. I did have all 5 of these toys, and I was able to create Superion. The way that it worked is Devastator was a little harder because there were 6 of them. It was an older like die-cast metal construction to put them together. Superion was easier, I thought. Their heads were like a little piece that you could fold down, and then it'd be like Silverbolt would be the leader, and he'd be the biggest one, so he'd be the middle, he'd be the torso, and like on his arms he'd have holes, and you'd take the head of the other one and you'd bend it down, and then it would click into the slot, so it would be his arm, the Superion's arm, and the other would be the other arm. And then the legs would like fold up, and you would do the same. You'd push the head into that slot on the legs, and then they'd always come with like the head, the hands, and the feet separate that you had to just fit on there, and then you had Superion or Defensor or whoever you're building. So he was pretty cool to build, and I always liked it. So this is Defensor and his group. They're the Protectobots. They are like emergency vehicle type things. I think these are a little more differentiated than those guys to me. So Hotspot, at least I recognize more. Then we have Groove, Streetwise, First Aid, and Blades. And so I think that's maybe this is Blades. I think it's tough. It's tough to remember these, but all these again are a little generic to me, like they're in the cool category. I remember them. They have their moments. More or less where I remember them is when they're in their transform mode, because you've got like a fire engine, you've got a police car, you've got a police helicopter type deal. That's Blades. You have a police motorcycle, I think, or emergency motorcycle, and then I can't remember what the other one is. But there's fire truck, ambulance, all the things you would think that you've got for emergency, and then Defensor, who makes a big blue robot. I don't know that I'd have him as high as like Superion. I don't remember him as much. more of what I remember about them is like in the Optimus Prime Returns show, or many 2 episodes where they all get infected, like, and they're trying not to, the Protectobots are trying to protect people and they end up getting infected, and Defensor gets infected, and they're like, oh crap, we're not going to be able to survive this at this point because all of our combiners have turned into mad robots and all this stuff. But it's a very jarring couple of episodes for me as a kid. The two where all of your heroes are turning into like crazed lunatic robots. You're like, what's going on? How are we going to stop this? The answer is the Matrix, as always. Okay, this is Omega Supreme. I guess he doesn't come around until season 2. I would have thought season 1, but maybe not. So Omega Supreme was the original big Transformer. Not just toy, but on cartoon, meaning like he was the size of Devastator, but he was just himself. He was one robot, not a combiner. And he transformed into like a space shuttle base or a space rocket base. And I think he could be the rocket, so he would transport people. It's kind of like Optimus Prime, where there's like components of him that form, where it's all of a sudden he's a track and a rocket, and he fires off the rocket. He somehow goes to another planet, and all that comes with him. Who knows how that works? Disappears into the magic space world and comes back to him. But he's a very kind of monotone voice. Very loyal to like his responsibility. I don't know that I would say he's like loyal just to the Autobots. I think it's more that he's like, I'm going to do my job. But he and Devastator were friends, I believe, those guys, and then they had a falling out. But I always thought he was barely not awesome. I liked him. Okay, this is Carly, I think. Carly is Spike's girlfriend. Pretty cute, and she was always kind of spunky and fun. We'll put her with Spike, just to be fair. But yeah, she's a good girl character. I liked her in the show. She didn't distract from the show or anything. It was a good ally to the Autobots in that season. I kind of again thought she was more of a season 1 person, but maybe not. All right, that brings us to season 2. This could be a little tricky because there's going to be a lot of these. Season 2 Decepticons, but they might lump them in. Okay, no, they'll go to the movie and then to some of these. So they're more season 3. Some of the ones I was thinking of, but they have combiners that show up in season 2. For the most part, there are some more Starscream like guys that are in there. And then we have our first view of triple changers. So they change into 2 different things, which was really cool. So we've got Astro Train to start. Now, Astro Train was prominent in the movie. So was Blitzwing. These 2 are the triple changers. Astro Train is a train and a space shuttle. So I guess on Earth he can transport a lot of guys as a train, and then when he's in space he can carry a lot when he's traveling between planets. But he's cool. He's big. He's purple. He had his own couple of episodes, I think, or at least one that has more of a prominent role. And I always liked Astro Train. I thought he was awesome as a Decepticon. Again, some of these guys may move above or below, even though they're in different categories once I get to the end. Blitzwing. So Blitzwing was also a similar concept of triple changer, was in the movie, survived the movie. I think he survived the movie. But he was a tank and a helicopter. Making sure I'm getting that right because he looks like he has like plane wings. But yeah, he's a helicopter because in the movie there's like a scene where they gotta like drag him down and then he turns into a tank and then shoots at him during Dare. So Blitzwing had a pretty cool personality too. So they're Decepticons. I know sometimes they're like not fully on board with like the Decepticon platform of what they're going to do. And I feel like there was a couple episodes where he was like questioning what his allegiances were. But I'm going to have him in the barely not awesome category. I did like Blitzwing though. I thought it was cool. All right, let's make sure we get these guys right. We have Dirge, Ramjet, and Thrust. Thrust was the red one. Dirge is the blue one. And then Ramjet is the third. And so, toy wise, we had Dirge. I remember because I was like, why do we have a blue Starscream? This is when I was really young. And then Thrust, we didn't have, but I was like, oh man, why don't we have Thrust? And the only difference with Thrust was that he had different wings. So you see how he has those little propellers on his wings. That was the difference. And then Ramjet was white. I think I did end up getting Ramjet. Like they released another generation of the toys in the early 90s or mid 90s. But there was a time, I think I mentioned this on one of my other videos, where when Transformers the cartoon was over, there was no Transformer stuff. Like you couldn't find the show. There were not toys. You had no hope. You didn't know that they were going to come back or that people would ever watch it again. So, when those toys came back out and I was like at Walmart or wherever we got, the toys original, I was like, oh my gosh, I can get some of them that I never had. I remember I got Slag, the Dinobot and Ramjet and some of the others. So they looked a little different, but they were the same. And as a kid, it didn't really matter. So anyway, back to these guys. We got 3 of the planes. I don't really differentiate these guys that much. I don't remember their personalities. I'm gonna say I'm just gonna put them down in the cool category for now, which is like a little bit of my dumping ground for making some decisions later. But I like them all. I just don't know that they were different. The other thing that's kind of interesting with these guys is their cone heads. So the toys at least were the same, but the difference is, so like if you look at Thundercracker up here, you see he doesn't have cone head. The way that worked with the toy is the cone on the top of his head would lift up and then peel back. So what Thundercracker would look like is like this, but he would have a cone off the back of his head. If you wanted to make it that way, or you can make him a cone head if you wanted to keep it up there. I like these guys. All right, this is Buzzsaw. I thought they might have Buzzsaw. So Buzzsaw, it looks like Laserbeak because he's the same toy as Laserbeak. I kind of forget that he existed in terms of the show. Like I don't remember what his difference was or what he did. If he had an episode with Laserbeak where they did something together, I don't remember. So he's forgettable. I remember his name. I remember him because of the toy more than the show for sure. All right, this is going to be one of the toughest ones because I can never get these guys straight, even when I watch the show, especially the first couple. So these are the Stunticons, which are cool. I like the Stunticons. Menasor is the big one that they combine into. They're a combiner. There's Motor Master's the main one, which is the one you can usually differentiate who's the big guy. And then the other 4 are a little more the same. I want to say the yellow one is Drag Strip. For some reason, I remember that. And then we have Dead End, Breakdown, and Wild Rider, I want to say. So I'm just going to assume Dead End, Breakdown, Wild Rider. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to put most of those guys in cool again anyway. And what I might try to figure out is if there's actually another category that I need at the end. Motor Master I like more. Sorry about that. Let me move him up. I'm going to have him in the barely not awesome category. So, but anyway, I might have another category. Motor Master is a little different because he had at least 1 or 2 memorable things for me. They made the Stunticons to be these like really destructive cars, like demolition derby type vehicles. Well, Motor Master was actually a semi, and he looked little like Optimus Prime. Now, I don't think his toy was Optimus Prime or anything, but on the show, they made him look like Optimus Prime, like they disguised him as Optimus Prime And he wasn't really, that was before they even knew the Stunticons existed, I think, and when they were built. Um, and they were probably the competitors of the aerial bots. Because if you think about it, the Autobots really didn't have planes, and so the aerial bots were the first planes, and the Decepticons really didn't have cars, and so these were the first cars. Um, but there were some cool episodes with the Stunticons for sure. I just don't differentiate some of the other ones as yet. But they create Menasor. Menasor I thought was fine. He's barely not awesome as well. He wasn't. He had a cool sword, but I don't know that I'd have him as my top combiner. Okay, then we can just go through these and maybe stop, or we might go through the movie. We'll see how much time we have. Combaticons are Onslaught. So Onslaught is this dude. We've got, Bruticus. Onslaught's the main like torso. They form Bruticus. So he's like a giant two-gunned tank truck. I don't know how to explain it, but he's like this long truck with two guns on his head, and they form Bruticus. So the other ones here are a little bit different and do have somewhat different personalities that I recall. You have Blastoff, which was a like space shuttle. It's one of these two. I think, it's this one, this guy. Then you had Brawl, who's a tank. This is Brawl with his tank gun. You had Swindle and Vortex. So Swindle is this guy. He's a Jeep. And then Vortex was, you see his propellers there, he's a helicopter. So these guys were pretty fun. They were built off of old World War II defunct machines, and Starscream, I believe, built them. He found them. He was like deserted on an island. I don't know if it was like Iwo Jima or if they even told the island, but I feel like it was something like that. And he rebuilt these guys, somehow gave them personalities, and I think their personalities were prisoners from Cybertron. Could be making that up, but I think that was it. And so they weren't very trustworthy. They weren't very loyal. They did not end up following Starscream, and they ended up becoming standard Decepticons to follow Megatron. I'm going to put these guys in cool, but I might be able to differentiate them a little bit. Swindle is a little different to me. I remember him more than the others. I liked Onslaught, so again, I can differentiate him a bit. And then I liked Bruticus. Bruticus was a little like Superion to me, so I'm going to have him up here as well. They might have been the competition with Defensor, so those Protectobots, but maybe not. But the fact that Autobots had two, they had two, might have been what they were going for there, but maybe not. Okay, that takes us to somewhat the movie, but not fully. Let's see where we're at on time. Oh, we're good on time, so we'll go forward with some of these. It is a mix mash of characters, because some of them are season 3 summer movie, so I wouldn't say it's like all movie. I might skip around and just do the ones from the movie that I recall, and then go back to the others because I won't remember their names immediately if I don't place them together. Okay, so Ultra Magnus. Ultra Magnus was voiced by Robert Stack. He is his toy was actually Optimus Prime, but white, with the things you see on there, like his hat, his head, his chest plate, additional things that you had to put on him to make him the guy that he looks like here. But he was a truck, and so the difference was he was a truck, and then he carried a more futuristic looking car transportation kind of trailer on him, at least for the toy. You didn't see him as much in the movie, I think, transformed, but then as he came back, because he died and then came back within the movie, maybe he was just knocked apart, and then the Junkions saved him or put him back together. But very soldier loyal, first soldier to Optimus Prime type guy. As a kid, I didn't really like Ultra Magnus that much. I was like, oh, okay, he's kind of boring and whatever. As I got older, I was like, oh, now I kind of like Ultra Magnus more. Um, I'll have him as barely not awesome. I think he looks really cool, like in hindsight. It's just that I kind of saw him as being the Ironhide, and Ironhide died, and then you have Ultra Magnus come in. It's like, well, he's not Ironhide, but he kind of is now. And you don't have a backstory of like, where'd Ultra Magnus come from? Was he on Cybertron the whole time? Like, what's going on? Where was he in season 1? All right, Hot Rod. So a lot of people hate Hot Rod, I'm sure. Um, the other thing I don't know is if they're differentiating in here. We'll see. I'm going to scroll down a bit. Rodimus Prime versus Hot Rod. It doesn't look like they are. Okay, I don't think so, but it's irrelevant for my purposes. So, Hot Rod was the brash, young, brave, but foolish Autobot at the beginning of the movie. Daniel's friend. Drove Daniel to go see the shuttles arrive, and then the battle ensued. He's fighting. He's trying to help them by getting back into the city with Cup. Cup is an old guy we'll see in a second. Really cool back and forth with those two. And then he ends up being the one who saves the day, who is the new leader of the Autobots once Optimus Prime dies. But Optimus Prime's death is his fault, or partly because he went to try to save him and ended up getting caught by Megatron in the ensuing battle, and then Megatron shot Optimus Prime. But ultimately, he redeems, himself by saving the Autobots in their darkest hour with the Matrix and becomes Rodimus Prime. In the show after that, in season 3, he becomes a very failed leader, and that's just how they wrote the show, and it's fine. Where it's like, oh, I'm taking over somebody and who had the biggest shoes you could fill, and I'm not confident as a leader. I kind of got thrust into this. I don't know how to handle this or where we're going. And instead of really resolving that and like helping him overcome it, they just brought Optimus Prime back because their toy sales had sank. So he didn't really get the arc he deserved, I don't think. That said, he's Hot Rod to me. And Hot Rod is one of my favorites. I know I didn't move some of the Decepticons up yet, but I loved Hot Rod as a kid. He's the car toy that I wanted to have. I never got it. But it's because it was hard to find. It wasn't like, oh, my parents wouldn't buy it for me. It was like, there was never a Hot Rod in my stores that I was able to get. And you couldn't just go on Amazon back then. So, but I thought Hot Rod was really cool. Judd Nelson was his voice of Breakfast Club fame. And I loved his design. He had guns were on his hands that were like the exhaust pipes on his car. He's funny. And yeah, just really cool character, I thought. Blur. So Blur talks fast and moves fast, like talks real fast, and you can hardly understand what he's saying and all that. Fun character, can get a little annoying. Transforms into like a futuristic type car, which is interesting because most of the time, like when the Transformers first came to Earth, they just found vehicles that they looked like, kind of, and transformed their bodies into that. Blur looks more like something from Cybertron, and that he stayed that way. So maybe he just didn't change. He did come to Earth because he was there when the battle started, but he survived, and Blur was there. I'll have Blur as cool. He can get a little annoying, but he's fine. All right, we have Cup. Cup is the old timer. He's been around a long time, yet you never see him in Generation 1. So apparently he stayed on Cybertron until the movie, which is like 20 years after set in the show, than the original cartoon. So maybe that was the time frame he moved over. But yeah, Cup was fun. Cup is brave. Cup is a good mentor. Has war stories. Grimlock's always asking him to tell him war stories. And Cup is fun. I like Cup a lot. I'll have him in the. I'll have Cup. we'll Star Cup in the barely not awesome category, but we'll see. Um, I'll go ahead and touch on this one. I don't think he was not in the movie. This is Goldbug. This is Bumblebee's reincarnation. And it wasn't that he died. I don't think it was just that he was very badly destroyed to an extent where they're like, well, we need to upgrade your body. Like you're not going to be good going forward unless we do it. And this was actually a different type of toy um, that I don't remember their names, where they it's like throttle bots or something like that. They were like these little guys that you could like pull back and they would go. That type of a toy mechanism, if I'm not mistaken. So that's probably why they redid him. But yeah, Goldbug was Bumblebee, but he was forgettable. I would have forgotten that he even turned into the Goldbug until I started talking about Bumblebee again. Okay, we have Arcee, so another female Autobot, redone eventually in the newer movies, I think. But in the original, she was in the movie, a bit of a kind of love interest type thing with Hot Rod, but not really. I don't know that ever became anything afterward either. But Arcee was cool. I liked her, and I'll have her in Barely Not Awesome. She was more of a futuristic car as well. Cup was as well. So I guess that group of them really just came from Cybertron and kept their forms or something close to it, which might make sense. All right, Springer. Springer's a triple changer, the first triple changer we see on the Autobot side. Green, helicopter, and a Batmobile, I would say, looking car. In the movie, he was transformed for maybe 2 seconds, but it was cool when he did. He was a helicopter on Planet of Junk, and then transformed into a car to try to get away, and couldn't, and then transformed and had an axe. I mean, it was pretty cool. But Springer he's brave. He's kind of got a funny element to him, but he's serious, like a good soldier kind of deal. Has a great line in the movie. I got better things to do tonight than die. Some other good lines, I'm sure, too, but I always like Springer. He's in my awesome category. All right. This is not okay. These guys are not movie. I'm gonna have to remember who they are. Some of these I remember more as like Metroplex toys. These guys are Metroplex. And then where is Real Metroplex is down here, I think. So gonna have to figure some of those out a little bit more. But we still have some. So yeah, here's Daniel. Daniel's from the movie originally. Spike's son. So Spike is now older. Daniel gets yelled at for almost letting his dad die. His dad yells "hurry" at him when he is trying to figure out his exosuit and shoot down the lid. He was never very agile with it, but he did it just in time and hit the thing right where he needed to hit it and save the day. Man, I'll be honest. I thought Daniel was kind of dumb. Wasn't really a fan of his. Now, what I can't recall, and I should recall, is like, was he in the third season, fourth season, and grew up and was cool? I feel like he did, and I just don't remember it. So the picture here is of him in the movie. I was friends with Hot Rod, who I love Hot Rod, but I was like, Daniel's just kind of this side character. I really never cared too much for the human element of Transformers. Some people, it's like need to have Megan Fox in it. Well, that's fine, but I don't care about Shia LaBeouf and Mark Wahlberg and whoever else they put in anymore. Okay. Any more from the movie? Yeah. Okay. Wheelie. Well, actually, these guys are in it too. We'll just do Wheelie first. So Wheelie is a little Cybertronian looking Autobot who was on his own out on the Quintessence planet. Don't know why he was there. Don't know that we ever got that story. But he talks real high and has a high voice and is famous for shooting Grimlock in the nose with this little fireball slingshot. Wheelie was kind of annoying to me though, so again, I'm gonna have him in the dumb category just so I have some down in the dumb category. Never really cared for him that much. He talked different too. He had like a different way he ordered his words sometimes, not like Yoda, but a little like Yoda. Okay, these were Blaster's cassette tapes. Ramhorn and Steeljaw. They're in the movie because they fight Soundwave's guys when Soundwave's guys come to try to block the communications, and so then they're in the show later. Had the toy of these, but I'll have them as cool. I do remember Steeljaw had more to do. I think in the Return of Optimus Prime series, I feel like he was fighting along with Goldbug and a couple of others to try to stop the virus that was going on, and then ultimately for Optimus Prime. And it felt like he had a voice, like he started to talk. Again, could be making that up. Eject and Rewind. Could be getting them reversed. I remember the blue one more. This is a little like Rumble and Frenzy, right? These guys are their counterparts. I'll have them as cool as well. I remember both of them. I don't remember too much about the personality. Okay. Okay, Wreck-Gar. Wreck-Gar was in the movie and then in the show afterward. From the Planet of Junk. Wasn't an Autobot. There were a bunch of the Junkions. They come out of the junk and he transforms into a motorcycle. You got Weird Al playing in the background. Talks TV is what he says. So they learned English from watching TV. They have the satellite to see it. So he talks that way, continues to talk that way. He was also a prominent figure in season 3, again in the Return of Optimus Prime. I think he's the one who got Hot Rod infected. I'll never forgive him for that. But I liked Wreck-Gar. I thought he was fun. I'll have him in the Barely Not Awesome category. Okay, I think that gets us through the Autobots in the movie, and then we'll finish up with Decepticons in the movie, and then I'll finish the ones off next time and rank and be done with it. All right. Now, technically, I think Metroplex was in the movie because it was Autobot City, but they didn't really use him that way, so I won't talk about him here. So we have Galvatron. Galvatron is the reincarnation of Megatron, floats into Unicron, is obstinate and stubborn and says, no, you can't do it, and then ultimately gives up and becomes the Leonard Nimoy voiced, at least originally, Galvatron, so Spock. But he is kind of he's pretty badass. He turns into a cannon, a little bit more practical than Megatron's gun. First thing he does is shows up to Starscream's coronation and turns him into ashes. So Galvatron means business. Cool looking. The purple color scheme's cool. He stands out. Like, even though Megatron was so iconic, they made Galvatron a good, cool version of a solid villain for the rest of the show. He was good in the movie for the time he had left because he had to obey Unicron, but then he got the Matrix and thought, like, well, maybe now I'm the most powerful, and started, being obstinate there. So I like Galvatron a lot. I think Galvatron's awesome. Okay, we got Cyclonus. So Cyclonus is the right-hand man of Galvatron. He turns into a cool space shuttle, space plane, something. Little bit of confusion in the movie, and probably just something that was an oversight. But if you watch, they show the scene where they're changing. It's like Thundercracker and Skywarp and Bombshell and Shrapnel, Kickback. They're changing them into the new versions of themselves. There's actually 2 Cyclonuses, but you only see one Cyclonus going forward, or at least throughout the series going forward. So don't know if that was an oversight or if there was another one and they just don't really talk about it that much. But Cyclonus was a cool right-hand man. He has a cool look to him and a cool transformation. I always liked him. I'm going to have him, I'll have him in my Barely Not Awesome category up here too. And then the sweeps there were more of them, but this is Scourge. Scourge is the main one. I had the Scourge toy. It was pretty cool. He's just like a spaceship, like a real flat spaceship with his head sticking up and like a gun on the top. But pretty cool. Liked him. He's got the beard, a little like Alpha Trion, being seasoned and all. But I'll have him in the Barely Not Awesome category as well. All right. Going down. Okay. Quintessons, yeah, would be next. So the Quintessons are not Autobots or Decepticons. The Quintessons are, I think, a creator of the Transformers, if I'm not mistaken. They have 5 faces. The series after the movie was called 5 Faces of Darkness, I believe, where it was more of the lore of how Transformers came about the Quintessons. Each of the faces represents a different personality of the Quintessons. So death and judgment or something. Just 5 different things. Vengeance, whatever. In the movie, they are found on their planet with the Sharktocons and other stuff, but they are doling out punishment, or the one that's there. It's like guilty or innocent, and then they say he's innocent, and they drop him anyway into the tank of Sharktocons. So they're pretty hardcore, but they're just this like ball. They don't transform, or this little floating thing, and they've got these like tentacles. They're weird looking, very cool, weird looking dudes. I'll have them as Barely Not Awesome as well. Definitely memorable. Okay, so we are at the Sharktocons, but now I'm confused. Who's the first one? Because I was kind of thinking they were the same thing. So I'll have to probably look that up. I don't know if there's a different group of Sharktocons. I feel like there might have been, but I can't remember off the top of my head what they would have been called. So we will see. They might just be like guards or something. I don't know. So I think these are the Sharktocons. I'm going to say that could be the Sharktocons. I get them mixed up. So anyway, this is the Sharktocon. It's like these memories start coming back. So this is the Sharktocon because these guys are where they're alligator type guys, and they're where Hot Rod and Cup tried to feed them Energon and do a universal greeting to say, hey, here you go, we're friendly. But they didn't know that these guys were like guarding the Quintesson base, and so they were attacking them, with their crocodile or alligator mouths after the fact, and then arrested them. I liked them. I thought they were cool. Sharktocons I thought were cooler. I'll have them as Barely Not Awesome. They transform into, they don't look like sharks. They look like little piranhas almost, but they're like a big bulky piranha with legs. Good cannon fodder. It was fun to see Grimlock and the Dinobots beat them up, but also Hot Rod and Cup took some out. So that was pretty fun. Okay, and then I think the last one we have is Unicron. So Unicron's a giant planet. Transformers, the movie opens with Unicron floating through space, and then he just takes out an entire planet. He takes out more moons, attacks Cybertron, etc., voiced by the famous Orson Welles. He is a planet for most of the movie, and you don't know what he looks like or anything. You're just like, oh my gosh, this thing's huge. He's got a giant mouth. Very cool, deep voice. And then he transforms into this giant devil-horned Unicron and smashes Cybertron. You're like, holy cow, this dude's awesome. So I'm going to have him in the awesome category. Okay, I think that takes us to what would be the last season, or the last 2 seasons. Season 4 was only the Headmasters and Target Masters piece of it. But we're close. We'll do that. We'll rank and then be done with Transformers.